Everything you will ever touch, hold, or spend began as nothing more than a thought. A simple idea backed by belief has built empires, raised skyscrapers, and turned ordinary people into legends. The world around you is a reflection of someone else's thinking, but the wealth you desire, that begins with your thought. The moment you decide to control your mind is the moment you take control of your destiny. Wealth is not handed down. It is drawn in by those who command their thinking, not those who wish, not those who wait, but those who decide. There is no rich man alive who did not first see his riches within before they showed up in his hands. The most powerful force in your life is the thought you hold with burning desire. It doesn't take money to make money. It takes a definite idea so deeply planted in your mind that no rejection, no failure, no delay can rip it out. That is how riches are born. The man who thinks consistently about lack will never experience abundance. But the one who focuses with unwavering intent on prosperity attracts it like metal to a magnet. There is no luck in wealth. There is only thought, belief, action, and persistence. Think clearly, think often, think boldly. You can't afford to think like the masses. The average mind waits for the conditions to be right. The wealthy mind creates the conditions it needs. If you're waiting for the right time to get rich, you've already lost. The right time begins when you think it does. Thought alone is not enough. You must give it life. Speak it, write it, feel it, build it with every choice you make. The thought must dominate your day, rule your decisions, and become so vivid in your mind that the world has no choice but to respond. You become what you hold in your head. If your mind is full of distractions, doubts, and indecision, that's the life you'll build. But if your thought is firm, definite, and fed by action, you will build riches, brick by brick. Desire is the fuel, thought is the engine, and belief is the key that starts the machine. Nothing changes until you do. No one is coming to spark the idea for you. It's already there. But until you choose to act on it, it will rot like seed never planted. Your circumstances are not permanent. They are a reflection of your previous thinking. Change your thought, and your results will follow. There is no power in vague wishing. There is only power in clear mental vision. Set your mind so sharply on the outcome that nothing around you can shake it. The ones who get rich aren't lucky. They're relentless. They decide, and then they refuse to undecide. That's the game. A single thought, when held with persistence, backed by faith and fueled by action, becomes unstoppable. Stop explaining why you can't. Start building the thought of what you will. Hold it. Breathe it. Live it. The world bends to the mind that refuses to yield. This is how wealth begins, not in a bank, not in a deal, not in someone else's favor, but in a single, powerful, unshakable thought. Every fortune starts in the mind before it appears in the bank. That's not poetry. That's power. The house you live in, the car you drive, the numbers in your account, they are all the shadows of thought. Everything physical was first invisible. Every mansion was first imagined. Every business empire was once just an idea. And that idea lived in the mind of a man or woman who refused to let it die. If you want riches, you don't start by working harder. You start by thinking harder, by seeing it clearly when no one else does, by holding the vision when the world gives you every reason to let it go. The poor wait for signs. The rich decide. The poor wish for luck. The rich design their outcomes in thought first, then force them into reality through action. Nothing separates the successful from the struggling except how they think. One sees barriers, the other sees blueprints. One reacts, the other creates. If your life is not where you want it to be, trace it back to your thinking. If your results are weak, your thoughts have been weak. Change what you believe and you change what becomes possible. Not someday, not later, immediately. The instant your thinking rises, so does your potential. The mind is the battlefield, and most people lose before the game even starts. They're defeated by doubt, fear, and indecision. They sabotage themselves by entertaining every reason why it won't work. Wealth does not entertain doubt. It demands dominance of thought. If your mind is not under your control, neither is your destiny. That's the law. You do not attract what you want, you attract what you are. You become what you think about most. Your dominant thoughts shape your habits, and your habits shape your results. If you constantly think like a winner, act like a winner, push like a winner, there is no other option but to eventually win. This is not philosophy, it's mechanics. A focused thought creates clarity. Clarity births action. Repeated action creates momentum. And momentum, when backed by belief, breaks down walls that others run from. The reason most people stay broke is not because they lack opportunity. It's because they never truly decided to become rich. They never lit the fire in the mind. They entertained the thought once, maybe twice. But when it didn't come quickly, they quit. They buried the idea before it had time to grow. Wealth demands time, repetition, and unshakable focus. It demands a mental obsession with a vision so strong that no delay, no failure, no setback can kill it. You don't need a rich family, a perfect market, or the right contacts. You need to believe in your vision more than the world disbelieves it. You need to see yourself already there when others can't see anything at all. That vision, that thought, it must become real inside you before it becomes real outside. You must live in the result mentally before the result ever shows up. That's how every fortune begins. That's how you separate from average. That's how you rise. Most people spend their lives reacting to the physical. Winners spend their lives creating from the invisible. One group lets the world mold their thoughts. The other molds the world with their thoughts. The lazy mind says, I'll believe it when I see it. The wealthy mind says, I'll see it until I believe it, and then I'll build it. Thought is the blueprint. Belief is the foundation. Desire is the fuel. And action is the construction crew. You must have all four. But it starts with thought. And not just any thought, intentional, obsessive, relentless thought, not random daydreaming, not wishful hoping. You must command the thought, feed it daily. Burn it into your brain until it becomes part of you. Until it drives you forward when motivation is gone. Until it makes you move while others sit, push while others complain, persist while others quit. A man can lose everything, his job, his money, even his support, but if he still has his mind, he can rebuild it all. Because the riches were never in the stuff. They were always in the source, and the source is inside you. It cannot be stolen, taxed, or taken unless you give it away. If you guard your thinking like treasure, it will produce treasure. If you allow it to be polluted by doubt and distraction, it will produce struggle. You have full control over what thoughts dominate your mind. No one else. Not the economy, not your boss, not your past. The mind is your kingdom, and it will serve you or destroy you, depending on who commands it. The road to riches is not paved with luck. It is carved by decision, faith, and persistence. If you think long enough with enough clarity, intensity, and belief, something will shift. Not might, will. The world will move to accommodate your vision. You'll meet people who can help. You'll see doors others can't. You'll spot chances most miss. But none of it happens unless you start with the thought. Wealth begins there. Not in effort alone, not in strategy alone, but in mind. That's where the seed is planted. That's where the roots take hold. That's where the future is written, by you, in the privacy of your own thinking, before a single dollar ever shows up. The ability to think deliberately is the foundation of wealth. It's not enough to merely have thoughts, everyone has them. But most minds drift like leaves in the wind, responding to every distraction, every fear, every external noise. The wealthy mind does not drift, it decides. It thinks with purpose, direction, and clarity. It chooses its focus and refuses to be moved. Wealth doesn't come to the chaotic thinker, to the one who allows worry and confusion to lead the way. Wealth comes to the one who takes control of thought like a craftsman controls his tools, shaping each one with intent until the vision becomes reality. If your mind is scattered, so is your life. If your thoughts are reactive, so are your results. Nothing about wealth is accidental. It is engineered first in silence, in solitude, through deliberate focus. You don't stumble your way into financial power, you build your way into it, and the bricks are your thoughts. Thought is the first currency. Before there is money, there is mentality. Before there is profit, there is precision in purpose. Those who master their mind master their fate, and those who fail to think with intention are doomed to serve those who do. A deliberate thinker does not wait for motivation, he generates it. He knows where he is going and why. He doesn't ask, what should I do today? He tells himself what to do. His mind is not a passenger, it is the driver. Every goal, every action, every conversation is aligned to the target. He knows that wasted thought is wasted time, and wasted time is the death of wealth. He does not entertain useless opinions, endless distractions, or the shallow emotions that drown ordinary people. He is too busy building riches in his mind to be concerned with anything less. Wealth begins when you decide that your thinking matters. When you realize that your results are not random, they are reflections of how you think. Every delay in your life can be traced back to unclear thought. Every breakthrough can be traced back to focused thinking. The world is loud, but the mind must be louder. You must take control of your inner world if you want to dominate the outer one. There is no shortcut. The only way up is through intentional thought, followed by relentless execution. Without that, all you have is noise, and noise does not build empires. Clarity is a weapon. Focus is fire. The man who knows exactly what he wants, why he wants it, and how he'll get it, becomes a force that cannot be stopped. But that power doesn't come by accident. It comes through deliberate, structured, disciplined thinking. You must train your mind like an athlete trains his body, daily, intentionally, no breaks, no excuses. You don't let the world dictate what goes into your mind. You choose. You filter. You decide what stays and what gets rejected. Because every thought you allow in has a consequence. It either builds or breaks, strengthens or weakens, moves you forward or holds you back. Most people do not think, they react. They scroll, they absorb, they accept whatever the world throws at them, and then they wonder why their life is off track. But you are not most people. You are here to lead your mind, not follow the noise. You are here to shape your vision like stone, refine it daily, and let no outside influence bend it. The ability to hold a single thought long enough and strong enough until it transforms into reality, that is the root of every fortune ever made. It's not talent, it's not luck. It's not timing, it's thinking, on purpose, without break, without doubt, without apology. You can only grow into the riches you are mentally prepared to receive. If your thinking is small, your income will match it. If your thinking is vague, your results will stay unclear. But if your thinking is specific, intense, and persistent, you will bend the world in your direction. Because the mind is magnetic. It pulls in the people, opportunities, and resources that match its dominant vibration. But that vibration must be created on purpose. You don't stumble into wealth with a lazy mind. You forge it through repeated, focused, and fearless thought. The difference between poverty and prosperity is not education, not environment, not background. It's intention. Two people in the same situation can produce entirely different outcomes because one of them decided to think differently. That's the entire game. You must see your mind as the source of all that will come to you. You must become ruthless in what you allow into it and relentless in what you plant inside it. Thought is your first asset. Guard it, shape it, feed it. It will either be your greatest ally or your most costly enemy. And if you fail to think deliberately, someone else will do your thinking for you, and you'll live under the shadow of their dreams while yours remain buried in silence. A burning desire is the ignition. Without it, thought is powerless. You can have all the knowledge, the plans, the strategies, but if there's no fire behind your intention, your mind will stall. A cold thought never moves the world. It never changes a life. It never creates wealth. Only the thought that is set on fire by desire has the power to burn through obstacles and light a path where others see only darkness. You don't get rich by casually wanting to. You get rich when your desire becomes so intense, so focused, that it consumes your excuses, your fears, and your limitations. Desire is the difference between I wish and I will. It's the reason why two people with the same resources, same background, and same ideas end up in completely different places. One of them burned for it, the other didn't. One stayed awake at night building the vision in their mind. The other stayed asleep, dreaming without action. The truth is harsh. Without burning desire, all the thinking in the world is wasted. Because desire gives thought its energy. It gives it weight. It gives it life. It takes an invisible idea and electrifies it with the intensity needed to pull it into form. Nothing great is ever created from lukewarm intention. Look around at every empire, every innovation, every fortune. They all began with one person who wanted it so badly they couldn't ignore the urge. The desire took over their mind, their hours, their decisions, their focus. That kind of fire cannot be faked. It cannot be manufactured through external motivation. It has to come from within. And once it's there, no resistance can stop it. Not failure, not rejection, not delays. The one with burning desire pushes through it all, not because it's easy, but because quitting is never an option once the fire is lit. Desire fuels persistence. It keeps the vision alive when progress is invisible, when no one believes, when everything moves slower than expected. Most people quit not because they can't make it, but because their desire was never strong enough to carry them through the struggle. They let doubt extinguish their flame. They let comfort weaken their drive. But the ones who rise to wealth are the ones who protect that fire like their life depends on it, because it does. Without desire, even the most powerful thought dies before it begins to breathe. But with desire, even the smallest idea can erupt into something unstoppable. Desire transforms your thoughts into commands. When you truly want something, not as a wish, but as a non-negotiable outcome, your thoughts stop drifting and start directing. You begin to think in solutions. You start noticing every opportunity, every opening, every tool. Your mind becomes a magnet. What others miss, you capture. What others avoid, you attack, because desire makes you alert, hungry, relentless. It sharpens your senses. It puts your entire being on alert. You walk different. You talk different. Your energy changes. People feel it. The world reacts to it, but only when it's real, only when it's burning. There are no shortcuts, no handouts, no tricks, just fire or no fire. That's the line that divides the successful from the spectators. The masses want it to be easier than that. They want a secret. They want a hack. But wealth does not respond to weakness. It responds to obsession. When your desire becomes an obsession, you stop making excuses. You stop blaming circumstances. You stop negotiating with laziness. You move. You adapt. You fight. And if you get knocked down, you get up with more pressure, more focus, more urgency, because the fire is still burning. And until you have that, you're not in the game, you're just watching it. People often ask, how do you stay motivated? The answer is you don't. You stay on fire. Motivation is shallow, it fades, it's an emotional bump. But desire, that's something deeper. It lives in your bones. It shows up even when you're tired, even when you're broke. Even when you've been told no for the 100th time. That kind of fire cannot be taught, but it can be chosen. It can be fed daily, with vision, with action, with discipline. The more you act, the hotter it burns. The more you feed it, the more it controls you. And once you reach that level, you become a danger to every excuse, every limitation, every barrier that stands in your way. You must look at your goal and demand it from yourself with a kind of intensity that scares comfort away. You must wake up thinking about it, work for it until exhaustion, sleep with it engraved in your subconscious. If your desire is casual, your results will be too. If you're half interested, you'll get half success. But if you burn with purpose, if your desire is non-negotiable, then no man, no failure, no force can deny you for long. That is the law of fire. And until you set your vision ablaze, don't expect the world to feel the heat of your presence. Faith turns invisible thoughts into visible reality. It is the unseen force that bridges the gap between what you hold in your mind and what you hold in your hands. You cannot build wealth without it. You can have the right strategy, the right timing, the right tools, but without faith, your thoughts will never leave the mental realm. Faith is what gives thought the permission to manifest. It is the force that holds your vision steady when nothing in the world confirms it. Most people quit because they cannot yet see the result. The man with faith pushes forward until he does, because he knows it already exists in the unseen. Faith is not hope. Hope waits. Faith acts. Faith doesn't ask for permission. It doesn't beg for signs. It moves like the result is already guaranteed. And when you move like that, when you think, speak, and work from that level of belief, the world begins to bend. It responds to the man who already sees what he's going after, because the man who knows he will win behaves differently. He holds himself with conviction. He works with precision. He speaks with power. There is no hesitation in a mind ruled by faith. Doubt is a luxury he cannot afford. If you're waiting for things to feel safe before you move, you've already lost. The world does not reward the hesitant. It rewards the bold. It rewards those who believe when there is no evidence, those who walk forward when others stand still, those who decide with finality that what they want is already theirs in the mental, and it is only a matter of time before it arrives in the physical. That's not fantasy. That's law. Faith activates energy. Energy drives motion. Motion creates momentum. Momentum brings results. But it starts with faith, and nothing else can replace it. You cannot think weak thoughts and expect strong results. The thought must be backed by certainty, by emotion, by clarity so sharp it cannot be shaken. That's what faith is. It is the mental clarity that no matter what happens, no matter how long it takes, the vision is real. The outcome is inevitable. There's a difference between wishing and knowing. The man who wishes is fragile. He needs support, applause, reassurance. The man of faith needs none of that. He stands alone in silence and still walks like the whole world is behind him, because in his mind it is. Most people fail not from lack of opportunity, but from lack of faith. They let delays turn into doubts. They let failures weaken their focus. They allow the outside world to shape their belief. But the wealthy never do that. They train their mind to hold the picture steady no matter what's happening outside. They reinforce the thought with repetition, with emotion, with obsession, until it becomes so dominant that reality has no choice but to conform. That's how power is built. From within, not from reaction, but from creation. And faith is what gives your thoughts the authority to create. You do not need anyone else to believe in your vision. You need you to believe in it without pause, without apology, without break. If you do, others will eventually follow, but they never come first. The crowd comes after the evidence. You must be your own evidence at the start, your own reason, your own fuel. That's what faith demands. That's why few people succeed, because faith costs more than most are willing to pay. It costs comfort. It costs certainty. It costs the need for approval. But it pays in power. It pays in freedom. It pays in wealth. You must act like the outcome is already done. You must walk like you've already earned it. Speak like it's already yours. Work like the finish line is already behind you. That mindset, that posture, that discipline, faith in motion, forces things to move. The idea that seeing is believing is backwards. Believing is what causes seeing. Every great breakthrough was invisible, until someone decided to hold the image in their mind long enough for it to appear. That's not mysticism. That's mental discipline. That's the secret few ever master. Because it is easier to react than to believe. Easier to wish than to trust. Easier to quit than to commit. Faith is not loud, but it is unstoppable. It does not scream, but it never surrenders. It is the quiet force that holds you upright when the world wants you on your knees. It is what keeps the vision alive when results are delayed. It's the reason you rise again after failure. The reason you speak with strength when others would hide. The reason you keep building while others laugh. Because you've seen the end before it began. And that picture is not optional. It's not a dream. It's a demand. That's what faith turns a thought into, an unbreakable command. If you don't believe, nothing will move. The doors won't open. The opportunities won't appear. The help won't show. Not because it isn't there, but because your doubt is blocking it. Faith clears the path. It signals readiness. It activates motion. It tells the world, I am prepared to receive. And that declaration, when felt deeply enough, when backed by action, becomes a force no obstacle can withstand. The invisible becomes visible. The imagined becomes real. The idea becomes empire. Because one man chose to believe, without condition, without pause, without needing proof. That's where wealth begins and how it stays. Indecision kills more dreams than failure ever will. Failure is a teacher. It's movement. It's action followed by experience. But indecision is death in disguise. It looks safe. It feels cautious. But in truth, it rots potential from the inside out. Every time you hesitate, every time you second guess, every time you wait for the perfect moment, you're killing your momentum. Nothing destroys greatness faster than the inability to choose and move. You cannot build wealth while standing still. The dream dies when thought doesn't turn into motion. The clock doesn't wait, and the opportunities don't linger for the hesitant. A weak mind delays action. It hopes for a sign. It asks for permission. It wants guarantees. But nothing in this world rewards the man who waits. Only the one who decides. Decide who you are, decide what you want, decide what you're willing to risk. That's how power is claimed. Not with perfect plans, but with fearless decisions. Most people never fail. They just never start. They sit in a fog of uncertainty, hoping clarity will show up before courage. But it never does. Clarity comes after commitment. Direction comes after movement. You don't think your way into results. You decide your way into them. Every successful person you admire has made more decisions than the average man. Not better ones, just more, because they understand that a wrong decision made fast can be corrected. But no decision at all locks the door forever. Indecision is the illusion of control, but it gives you none. It pretends to protect you, but it only paralyzes you. You avoid risk, and in doing so, you guarantee regret. The man who waits loses to the man who acts. Every single time. Because the world bends for momentum, not for intention. There is no perfect choice. There is only a made choice followed by relentless action. That's the mindset of builders, leaders, winners. They are not immune to fear, but they do not kneel to it. They understand that the cost of hesitation is opportunity. While you're deciding whether to go, someone else already went. While you're wondering what step to take, someone else already took it. That's how the race is won, not by being the smartest, but by being the one who moves with certainty. Even if the path isn't fully clear, they trust their ability to figure it out along the way. Because motion reveals what thinking alone cannot. The dream dies in the silence between thought and action. That gap, that pause, that maybe later is where lives get wasted. You must become ruthless about this. You must train yourself to decide fast, commit fully, and adjust as needed. The man who cannot decide will always be ruled by the one who can. That's the truth. The indecisive become employees of the decisive. The unsure serve the certain. Power is attracted to clarity. Wealth follows direction. And if you can't provide that direction to yourself, don't expect the world to give you anything more than confusion. You must stop asking for confirmation. Stop waiting for everything to feel right. That moment never comes. What comes is doubt. What comes is hesitation. What comes is time passing while your fire cools. But when you decide, even if it's messy, even if it's uncomfortable, you keep the fire alive. And from that fire you build. People think failure is what breaks you. It isn't. It sharpens you, refines you, shows you the edges of your character. The real enemy is indecision because it convinces you to do nothing. It keeps you safe and average. And if you let it, it becomes a permanent way of life. The ability to decide quickly and clearly is one of the greatest habits of every wealthy mind. It doesn't mean reckless. It means decisive. Once the decision is made, they don't keep revisiting it. They move, and if adjustments are needed, they're made mid-stride. But the stride never stops. There is no success without action, and there is no action without decision. You must cut off the path of hesitation. Burn the bridges of retreat. Force yourself to move forward. That pressure, that commitment, that demand on yourself, it transforms you. You stop being the man who wonders, and you become the man who makes things happen. Stop overthinking. Start deciding. Wealth isn't won by those with the best ideas. It's claimed by those with the strongest execution. A brilliant thought means nothing if it stays in your head. Dreams don't materialize from potential. They're forged by action. And action starts with one thing, a decision, not tomorrow, not next week, right now. The moment you stop dancing around your dream and start chasing it with urgency, the universe begins to respond. Doors appear, people show up. Resources align, but only after you commit, not before. That's the rule. You lead with decision. Everything else follows. So if you're stuck, if you're spinning, if you're frozen, understand this. You're not lacking opportunity. You're lacking commitment. You're not waiting for a sign. You're avoiding a decision. And until you change that, nothing changes. You don't need more time. You don't need more advice. You don't need more research. You need to decide. Decide who you are. Decide where you're going. Decide what you're willing to do. And do it without delay. Because while you wait, someone else is already building. While you hesitate, someone else is already winning. While you think, someone else is already deciding. And in this world, it's not the thinker who gets ahead, it's the doer. Riches demand clarity of purpose, not just wishful hoping. Wishing is weak. It's passive. It asks life for favors. But clarity commands. It speaks to the world with force and says, this is who I am, and this is what I will have. You cannot drift into wealth. You cannot wander your way into power. Every fortune began in the mind of someone who was clear. Clear on what they wanted, why they wanted it, and what they were willing to do to get it. Without that clarity, your thoughts have no focus, your energy has no direction, and your time has no value. Clarity gives your actions meaning. It takes your ideas and forges them into intention. A man with a clear purpose walks differently. He talks differently. He doesn't waste time explaining himself to people who don't understand because he's too busy executing. He isn't distracted by every shiny opportunity, every detour, every opinion, because he knows exactly what he's building. Most people fail not because they lack intelligence, but because they lack direction. They chase everything and catch nothing. They want too much, yet commit to nothing. Clarity cuts through the noise. It silences the confusion. It says, this is the target, and nothing else matters until it's hit. There is no wealth without precision. You must define what success means to you with ruthless detail. Not I want more money, but I want to earn this amount, by this date, in this exact way. Not I want to be successful, but I will become the best in this industry, by mastering this skill and serving this specific group of people. That level of clarity turns dreams into blueprints. It turns hope into strategy. And most importantly, it forces the universe to respond. Because when you move with certainty, the world starts to make room for you. But if you don't know what you want, neither does it. You are not overwhelmed, you are unclear. You are not behind, you are unfocused. You are not lost, you are undecided. The minute you get clear, everything accelerates. Opportunities start showing up. Time starts working for you, not against you. People begin to take you seriously because your energy now has direction. The man with purpose doesn't beg for support, he attracts it. Why? Because clarity is magnetic. Everyone wants to be around someone who knows exactly where they're going. That level of certainty gives others confidence, and that confidence opens doors. But it all begins with your mind refusing to settle for vague goals and empty wishes. You must sit with yourself and decide with finality. What do you want? Not what sounds good, not what others expect, what you want. Wealth doesn't respond to noise. It responds to purpose. You must burn your plan into your consciousness so deep that nothing can shake it. Not criticism, not failure, not time. A man who is clear cannot be stopped. He cannot be distracted. He cannot be turned. And even when he is delayed, he is never lost, because his compass never changes. He may take different paths, but the destination stays fixed. That's the power of clarity. It keeps your flame alive even in storms. When you're unclear, every failure feels like the end. Every delay feels like defeat. But when your purpose is locked in, those same events feel like tests. You see the lesson. You adjust, you refine, but you never stop, because you know what you're after, and no circumstance has the power to take that from you. Most people quit because they were never truly committed. They wanted the feeling of progress, but not the price of purpose. Clarity demands that price. It demands sacrifice, focus, and discipline, but it pays back with speed, confidence, and impact. There's nothing more dangerous than a man who knows exactly what he's doing. Get specific, get aggressive, get obsessed. Don't say, I want freedom. Define what freedom looks like in your life. How much do you need? By when? Doing what? Don't say I want success. Define your vision with numbers, names, and timelines. Vague goals produce vague results. But a sharply defined purpose, that creates pressure. And pressure is where diamonds are formed. It's where hunger is born. When your purpose becomes that clear, your brain begins filtering everything through it. You start seeing opportunities that were invisible before. You start saying no with power. You stop tolerating mediocrity because you're now driven by something exact. Without clarity, your energy leaks. You chase distractions. You work without urgency. You fall into habits that waste your potential. But with clarity, every hour matters. Every action compounds. Every setback becomes fuel. You become intolerant of comfort, allergic to excuses, obsessed with execution. People around you start to change. Either they rise with you or they fall away. That's how you know you're getting close. When your vision becomes so precise that it reshapes your entire environment, you're no longer hoping for success. You're creating it. Every word you speak, every step you take, every move you make is now aligned with your core intention. And that's when the game changes. When you no longer wonder if it will happen, but operate as if it already has. Because your level of clarity eliminates doubt. It kills hesitation. It silences fear. The man with purpose isn't trying, he's becoming. He's becoming what he already decided to be. There's no room for hope. There's only purpose, backed by decision, reinforced with discipline, executed with obsession. And when that mindset takes over, wealth becomes inevitable. Because riches don't answer to dreams, they answer to clarity. Persistent thought, backed by action, bends the world to your will. There is no force more dangerous, more potent, more creative than a mind that refuses to let go of its vision and a body that works relentlessly to bring it into form. Thought alone is only the beginning. Action alone is aimless. But when your thoughts are fixed like steel and your actions are unyielding, the world moves. Reality reshapes. People take notice. Circumstances shift. The invisible becomes visible because you demanded it with your mind and enforced it with your effort. Most people think once, try once, and quit forever. That's why they lose. That's why they stay average. They confuse a spark for a fire. But greatness comes from a thought that refuses to die and a man who refuses to stop. That combination, mental repetition and physical commitment, builds momentum that no obstacle can withstand. You must burn the idea into your mind so deeply that no failure, no delay, no resistance can erase it. Repetition builds belief. Belief builds emotion. Emotion fuels motion. And motion, when sustained, crushes resistance. You cannot think about it once and expect results. You must think about it daily, hourly, obsessively. You must let the thought become so real in your mind that you can feel it, see it, taste it. The brain does not know the difference between imagination and reality. It reacts to repetition. And what you repeat with intensity becomes part of you. That's how thought becomes power, not in flashes, but in consistency. Every fortune, every breakthrough, every transformation began with one man holding one thought so long and so strong that it eventually became truth. But thought is not enough. It must be paired with action, precise, deliberate, relentless action. You don't wait for motivation. You build it with motion. You don't wait for the perfect plan. You refine as you go. Too many people waste their life trying to figure out the how before they've even committed to the what. But if your thought is persistent, the path will reveal itself. Not all at once, but step by step. Your job is not to know every turn in the road. Your job is to keep walking. Every move you make sharpens your vision. Every step you take builds your character. Action backed by belief changes your chemistry. You no longer try, you become. The man who acts repeatedly from the same thought becomes the embodiment of that idea. And people trust embodiment. They follow it. They invest in it. They believe in it because it is rooted in truth, not hype. That's how influence is born. Not through charisma, but through consistent conviction. You become undeniable when your thoughts don't fade and your actions don't stop. You become the kind of force that makes the world adjust itself around your decisions. Persistence is not about never falling, it's about rising again and again with the same fire. Most people think persistence means effort. It doesn't. It means obsession. It means thinking about the result so frequently and moving toward it so fiercely that quitting is no longer in your vocabulary. You stop entertaining other options. You stop listening to opinions that don't serve you. You stop waiting for signs. Your thought becomes law. Your actions become declarations. And over time, the world bends, not because it wants to, but because it has no choice. You are not defeated until you decide to stop. You are not limited until you believe you are. You are not average unless you choose to be. Your thoughts create the vision, your actions carve the path, and your persistence guarantees the outcome. But you must do the work. You must fight the urge to drift, to slow down, to doubt. Doubt has no place in a persistent mind. It may whisper, but it cannot lead. You must lead every day, through repetition, through routine, through relentless discipline. The man who moves even when he doesn't feel like it eventually becomes unstoppable. There is nothing more powerful than a single thought enforced with 1,000 actions. That's how skyscrapers rise. That's how legacies are written. That's how wealth is built. One decision, repeated, reinforced, executed. You don't need new goals. You need commitment to the ones you already made. You need to stay with the thought longer than anyone else. When others quit, you remain. When others forget, you remember. When others get distracted, you get sharper. That's how separation is created. That's how empires are born, not from sudden inspiration, but from the kind of repetition that breaks through resistance. You must become the kind of person who thinks with clarity, moves with force, and persists with discipline. That's the blueprint. You don't get to rest when you're tired. You rest when the mission is done. You don't let temporary failure become permanent identity. You don't confuse delay with denial. You don't beg for results. You command them through your standards. The world belongs to those who persist, not those who try, not those who talk, those who do, relentlessly, repeatedly, unapologetically, with one thought that they never stop acting on. If the idea is worthy, so is the effort. If the vision is clear, the sacrifice is nothing. Because once you've made up your mind, truly made it up, nothing outside you matters. Not rejection, not time, not judgment, not failure. It all becomes fuel. Because when your thought is persistent and your action unshakable, the result is inevitable. You don't need luck. You don't need praise. You don't need conditions to be perfect. You just need to stay in motion with a mind that never forgets what it's after. And that is how you bend the world to your will. What you dwell on long enough, you eventually attract. The mind is not neutral, it's a magnet. Whatever you feed it, it multiplies. Whatever you focus on, it pulls closer. Thoughts are not harmless. They are blueprints, signals, commands to the world around you. The man who fills his mind with scarcity will find proof of it everywhere. The man who lives mentally in abundance will draw it out of thin air. What you repeat becomes belief. What you believe shapes perception. And what you perceive directs your actions until they become habits that create the very life you imagined. The world does not give you what you want. It gives you what you expect. And expectations are built from the thoughts you dwell on. You can't think like a failure and succeed. You can't obsess over obstacles and live free. You can't rehearse fear every day and still expect courage to show up when it counts. Your dominant thought is your dominant direction. What you dwell on most will shape what you say, how you walk, who you speak to, and what you reach for. It will silently control the quality of your decisions and the boldness of your moves. You must train your mind with the same intensity you would train your body. You must discipline your thoughts to reflect the life you want, not the life you fear. This is not fantasy, this is principle. Your brain follows focus. It filters reality based on what you tell it is important. If you constantly dwell on failure, it will show you evidence of more failure. If you dwell on wealth, your mind will begin to spot ideas, people, and chances that move you toward it. This isn't magic, it's mechanics. Input creates output. Attention creates direction, and your direction becomes destiny. Most people are stuck not because they're cursed, but because they dwell on the wrong things. They feed themselves negativity, scarcity, drama, and then wonder why their lives reflect chaos. The solution is not to avoid reality, but to command it. Decide what matters. Decide what deserves your focus. Then repeat it until it becomes automatic. Greatness isn't built on occasional motivation. It's built on disciplined focus, on choosing again and again to dwell on what's wanted, not what's feared, on what's possible, not what's missing. You are always attracting something. Make sure it's what you want. This is why obsession matters. Not casual interest, obsession. The man who thinks of his vision night and day, who walks with it in his mind and speaks of it as if it's already here, becomes a magnet for everything aligned with that vision. Doors open, people appear, ideas arrive, not by chance but by clarity. You attract what you are prepared for, and preparation starts with thought. What you dwell on becomes who you are, and who you are determines what you receive. Wealth begins in the mind, so does freedom, so does power, and so does poverty. You choose what takes root. Your thoughts plant seeds. What you water grows. Doubt is a seed, so is desire. Fear is a seed, so is faith. The mind does not care which you choose. It will grow whatever you feed it. So choose deliberately. Become ruthless with what you allow yourself to think. Don't dwell on the worst-case scenario. Dwell on the outcome you demand. Don't replay mistakes. Replay the lesson. Don't imagine defeat. Imagine dominance. Don't ask what could go wrong. Ask what could go right. This is not false hope. It is focused power. The man who dwells on victory finds a way to win. You must become the kind of person whose inner world is stronger than the outer world. That takes discipline. It takes decision. But it changes everything. The man who can hold an image in his mind long enough, regardless of delay, regardless of difficulty, will attract everything needed to bring it into the physical. Circumstances are secondary. Environment is temporary. But thought, persistent, unbreakable thought, that's what carves reality. Don't talk about what you want once and forget it. Talk about it daily. Think about it hourly. See it, feel it, live it in your mind before the world sees a thing. That's how champions rise. That's how leaders build empires. They live mentally in the result until the world catches up. They dwell on the goal, not the gap. They fix their mind on the end, not the effort. Their attention is so sharp that distractions bounce off of them. They are not controlled by emotion. They are led by vision. And that vision is replayed so often it becomes their truth. They don't hope to win. They assume it. They don't wish for wealth. They align with it. Their thoughts attract everything that matches, and their discipline keeps them in alignment. It's not about just thinking positive. It's about thinking powerfully, thinking purposefully. Thought is not passive. It's a weapon. Use it. Aim it. Hold it steady. Don't let it wander into weakness. Don't let it circle fear. Control it, direct it, command it. When the world tries to distract you, come back to the thought. When setbacks show up, come back to the thought. When time drags on, come back to the thought. Repetition creates belief. Belief fuels action. Action brings results. But the root of all of it is what you dwell on. If you want to change your life, change your dominant thought. What are you dwelling on every day? That's what's shaping your future. Not luck, not chance, not circumstances. Thought, held, repeated, backed by action. That is how you attract what you want. Not by asking, but by aligning. Not by hoping, but by commanding. Not by waiting, but by becoming. You don't get what you want. You get what you are. And you become what you dwell on. So choose power, choose clarity, choose vision, and never let go. So hold the image. Guard the thought. Feed it with repetition. Protect it with belief. And enforce it with relentless action. Refuse to let the world shake your vision, because the world is already bending to it, piece by piece, moment by moment. What you dwell on is not fantasy, it's formation. And when you stay locked in long enough, the world no longer asks if you deserve it. It delivers. Because you didn't just wish, you aligned. You didn't just dream, you demanded. You didn't just want, you became.